Islam. And welcome to Military Engineer Street School. The host, Annie Ida L., along with my co-host, Ms. Raheem Aleph L.
Islam, peace and love, Annie, peace and love, Moors.
Peace and love. Rosmariah Bay.
Islam, peace and love.
All right. And Cujo will not be joining us this evening. He has some family get-togethers he has to attend to. So it is just us. I want to send a big shout out to our internet listeners. The chat room is open, and also I want to, thank you for joining us every Tuesday. Thank you so much. Big shout out going out to our family listening over in Great Britain, South Africa, Japan, the brother over in the Netherlands, Abbasid, Islam, and family listening over in the Philippines, Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, and Arab family we have yet to connect with. Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in each week. Big shout out to our callers. Thank you so much for joining us every Tuesday, filling up the call lines before the show even begins. Thank you so much. Big shout out to you. Also, let's see, just a great big thank you to everybody as we come together, sharing information, building together, and, uplifting fallen humanity. Thank you so much for that. With every broadcast, what we do in addition is make a public announcement of those Moors that have been kidnapped by members of various corporations disguised as government under the name of county, city, town, township, boroughs. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off of the street, in some cases right out of their homes. They're being held hostage with a demand for income. And even while they are being held hostage, income is being demanded for their care after they have been kidnapped. So we want to absolutely make a public announcement of those Moors that we are aware of that has been kidnapped and is being held hostage. And we start out with our sister Abkare Bey, kidnapped by employees of the Memphis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. Daoud Il under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Muslimin Il and Kusal Bra Kush Bey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patah Amin Ra Bey under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Paler Il, Terry Thorne Bey, J. McHale Brooks Bey, Joseph Canaday Il, Kushamir Bunch Il, Emmanuel Billings Bey, Khalid Alamin Il, and Michael Curry Bey, all kidnapped and being held by corporations under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco Il under the purview of New Jersey. Messiah Aziz Il and Crystal Il, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer Freehold and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Patricia Bey and her infant baby, as well as Malik Il Bey, kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation or I should say, kidnapped by employees of the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. And let's see, Eldridge Teron Fisher, ill, kidnapped by under the purview of Indiana as well. Indiana as well as Martise Savion, ill, also kidnapped under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Bay, Mumi Abu Bay, kidnapped under the purview of Texas. William Barrett, ill, kidnapped under the purview of Virginia. Bomani Abidwil, ill, kidnapped by the employees of the Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Che Ray Bay, under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay, under the purview of California. Victor Eduardo Envoye Juarez, ill, kidnapped by the employees of the Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia. And Danielle Nay Fear Cox, ill, kidnapped through a joint venture by the employees of the Allegheny and Pittsburgh Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania. All right, I got that out of the way. Those are the more that we are aware of.
Before you go in, though, before we continue, I would just like to suggest for everybody listening to also check out the update on RV Bay Publications about prisoners in your own land. Whereas I know we can utilize information and have good outcomes as well. So I just wanted to suggest that. Islam.
Islam. All right. I think that's all the announcements that need to be made. Let's see. Yes. All right. Let's get into the subject of our broadcast today. The 1st of March. Got 19 to 20 more days before the new year. And I am so happily looking forward to that. So set your clocks and set your timers and circle the date. Everybody should be having some New Year's Eve celebration on the 20th of March for the new year, 1436, Moorish calendar. All right? All right, today's broadcast is entitled Freestyle Tuesday with an answer to a chat room question. This is a chat room question that was missed on Sunday when we broadcast Sisters Standing on Law. We didn't see it until today because, we were monitoring several things on as we broadcast, and we missed that. And it was I believe the question came towards the latter portion of the broadcast, and so it was missed. So we thought it would be a good thing to address it on Tuesday's broadcast as well as do a Freestyle Tuesday. And Freestyle Tuesday is when we open up the lines. We each put something on the table and we open up the lines and we touch base with the family across the nation in terms of their issues, experiences, and any type of, information or questions that would like to be given or asked at that time. So the question that was posed in the chat room for my Freestyle Tuesday issue is, question posed, is it not true that nationality cards have to be issued by a nation or temple or Grand Sheik? Now, these types of questions demonstrate that one may not be studying, because, see, this is the Moorish, divine, and national movement of the world, all right? This is also Moorish science. So you ought to know that the prophet, who is very, very, very smart, genius, prophet for a reason, when he says things, he is telling you from a higher level. And as we are growing, we're supposed to be studying, as he strongly suggested we do, so that we can look at things not from a lower place, but from a higher place. Because this is all about uplifting fallen humanity, which means it's about freeing your mind. So we cannot look at things that the prophet has said in a vacuum, because the prophet was not that type of individual, from what I gathered.
True.
So nation, temple, or Grand Sheik, the only people that's supposed to be issuing nationality cards, essentially, is the question, where in the prophet's writing is that written? But even if it is or is not written, let's look at the question. As I said, these types of questions demonstrate that one may not be studying. Nation, temple, and Grand Sheik all point to one being and is somewhat synonymous. The nation comes from mother, and her womb is a nation. The temple is her body. The first temple is the body, if you didn't know. And her body is the first body. The temple is her body, and the Grand Sheik and the Grand Architect is mother. As divine beings are built in the dark with no tools, and sheiks are born, not made. So when we look at the question, is it not true that nationality cards have to be issued by a nation, a temple, or a Grand Sheik? They're all synonymous. If you really look at this from a higher place, this is all about mother. It's all about uplifting mother, because it's through mother that all beings arrive here. And every female has a nation in her womb, which means she just issued you a nationality card. She issued you a nationality card, and guess what? The nationality card is you manifested in the flesh. Islam, a nationality card does not identify you. It identifies a reflection to the best of that ability, but it is not you. It could never be you, just like these nom de guerres could never really be us. But with our free national appellation, our nationality cards, even our proclamation, they express us, but they are not us. So we really need to look at what the prophet put together and stop looking at it from this low mentality, place. Because, see, when we function from a low mentality place, we are affirming still that the modern Europeans' mental enslavement is alive and well. But this is also why we have to study, because you are ever diluting the misinformation that is out here about the Moors. This is also why the prophet said that you're going to need, Ra says it all the time, what is it that you're going to need in order to shovel yourself out from under the heap of lies that are going to be told about you?
Our own press.
Yeah, you're going to use your own newspapers to shovel yourself out from the avalanche of lies that will be heaped upon you daily.
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 He said daily.
Yeah.
So that means that we have to be studying every day to continuously dilute the misinformation we already have and continues to be heaped upon us. And when he talks about we're going to need our press, you know, we are the first press, because it is through our declaring on a constant basis that the truth is going to be manifest. And, well, the truth already is, but it's going to be that's going to, you know, alter that misinformation. It's by our words and our deeds. We are the first press. So in order for us to really make the truth clear, we at least got to study, so we are a walking, talking manifestation of the truth that already is. So we got to study. You know, there's no way around this but to study, because these issues of just what, you know, even if we didn't have the prophet's word, when we go and look these words up in the dictionary, or that we do the etymology of it, which is all about study, which is all about science, and if nothing, as Moors, we are Moorish scientists, that will bring you to the truth, rather than throwing, you know, stuff out there, questioning your own being. We could see we have all these things now.
I just wanted to say, getting back to the original statement question that was in the chat room on our sister standing on law that, as you said, we missed, didn't see it until later. You know, really getting to what the person who wrote that is really saying, or is that he or she is coming from some propaganda coming from your own family, because let's be real, we've been issuing, establishing, printing the Allodial American National Identification Card for quite some years now, like since maybe 2012. So, you know, there, as you may have mentioned, a card issued from an association group or whatever like that is a membership card, and there's nothing wrong with that. It can absolutely be used as identification, provided, of course, that it has a nationality on it, which is what, of course, the temple cards have on them. But the question that he's asking goes hand in hand with the you cannot be a Moor unless you are in a temple, which is not true, which is a false statement. And so that particular question goes hand in hand with those lies that are put out. And at the same time, as I said, we've been issuing this card. Now here we are with, you know, coming to the forefront of the resistance of, I would say, people who are not studied or infiltrators of their own people, because they're not really infiltrating the work that another is doing. We're not saying they're infiltrating the work that we're doing. We never say that, because the work that we're doing is the work for the nation that is being guided by sharing information. Like the person who said that, like you said, didn't study enough to know the difference of a membership card and what a Allodial National Identification Card is. One of the reasons is they've never seen an Allodial National Identification Card because no one's ever issued that. So now that the temples issue an identification card that's clearly is used to identify and to show membership in a connection of an institution that is underneath the Moor's divine and national movement of the world. And we're also under that, too, because the work that's being done, period, for the nation. And so, you know, now that all this is happening, those who, for instance, when he says, okay, unless it's issued from a temple, you better really study hard, because there's some temples that are issuing a card that makes you a member of the United States of America Corporation. So, like, obviously you should be one ought to be able to answer that question on their own, because if that were the case, that could never go down. But that's unstudied people in positions as well, who probably don't want to lose that position, who probably want to put down other people's work because they haven't studied enough. And that's really what is going on more and more right now. But I agree with you that when people just listen to what someone else has said without it resonating in their soul, meaning speaking to their DNA, meaning speaking to their spirit man, and veiling itself as truth, which does not change nor pass away and needs no apology. When they just listen to people, they don't get that, and or they don't go study to connect and get that feeling, or that I guess I should say feeling, or get that experience, then they themselves need to continue to study. Now, some people think, well, it's a raising of consciousness, but guess what? It's too much information out here to continue to pull the people as if they're truly unlearned, unknown. Yes, we haven't been exposed to our own information, but the deal is it's not like it's not out there. So I always say on the issue that we discuss, when even the prophet says, come hear the truth about your birthright. So that's how you know that whatever this is not something that no institution can give you. No outside, association membership, et cetera, et cetera. It does not come from that. So that doesn't mean you don't have to be a part of that, but you darn sure need to know that this is your birthright. It is about your nationality and birthright, meaning that it was from the time you were born, which is why women need to wake up and get on the beam on this. I mean, really, they do. Because from that manifestation into the flesh through her womb is when this thing begins on this earth plane for people who are claiming their illustrious history, their heritage, because and that's also why Friday is considered the holy day, because Friday is the day you were formed in the flesh, which is in your mother's body. And Friday, your mother's womb, and Friday is the day that man departed from the flesh. So that's your symbol, sign, code, whatever you want to call it, because it really ain't none of that. It's clear. It's straight up just that. The only reason you see it, because I did myself when I first heard it, I was like, wow, they're talking about when man was formed and when he died. No, they're talking about, yes, formed in the womb and departed from the womb. So the only reason that most of us don't see it that way is because of the indoctrination of something other than the respect of birthright, which comes from birth. And so that's the mental slavery we have to get ourselves out of. So I said all that to say that in these days and times now, there is no excuse for anyone who actually believes that the only way to be who you are at birth is if you're in or a member of an institution. Oh, and one last thing. R.V. Bay Publications is a Moorish publishing company. Now, there may be others out there as well, and power to them all. How dare someone say they have no authority to print their own allodial national ID when it ties you right into your Aboriginal, and as such, you have a right to establish your own identity that must be respected. I believe that's Article 1, Section 8, or Article 8, Section 1. I look on the site; it's right there on the National Identification Card page. So, if that be the truth, how can someone say something so ridiculous? Because why again is that? Because they did not study the subject matter. Islam.
And to add on to that, I think what he's missing first is, as Anna-E brought out, they're putting the institutions before the natural people. You know what I mean? Like, every institution, it was a natural being that manifested it in some sort. You know what I mean? Like, Noble Drew Ali was a natural being. Like, he wasn't a corporate person in that respect. Right. So he had political power to do that, just like we do. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
right.
because our nationality supersedes the institution. Back to the birthright, right?
Well, so wait a minute, before you go on, I don't want to cut you, but what has to be said here then, and we've said it before, the institution does not create the cause. The cause creates the institution. So we have an institution of publishing Moorish literature and stuff. How can someone discredit that? Islam, peace and love.
Islam, right. Yeah, it can't be done. I mean, you know, because think about it. The post office is an institution, right? People can go to that corporation and get passports, which is another corporate document. But that's for corporate, you know, persons or natural people operating in the corporate capacity, if you were to do that. You know what I mean? Because it's not necessary, but the fact that that institution has that option, you know what I mean? It doesn't bias the institution. It is what it is. So what I'm saying, as far as R.V. Bay Publications being Moors, in fact, you know, there's a more supreme political power. Not that any other Moors don't possess it. We do as a nation, but it's just national activity that keeps it going. You know what I mean? This is what it's about. So it's like understanding that. You have to understand international law and the law of nature, because we have the right to communion in speech or writing. So we can't go to a corporate institution and them or issue us. I mean, I'm speaking as a nation. You know what I mean? And they issue us nationality cards, because it's a different society as far as identity goes. They don't deal with identity. So this is what nationality and birthrights is about. In the law of evidence, you're talking about identity. It has to be the same as what you claim to be, right? So basically that's what it is. So Article 8, Rights of Indigenous People. This is international law. It says indigenous people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. But to freely determine their political status goes right back to nationality via the definition that's provided in Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, whereas it tells you that nationality determines your political status. So if you're going to claim your nationality and identity in the law of evidence, you know, there should be some communion in speech or in writing, or, you know, certain claims that's in line with your nation. So that's why it is what it is. Also, keeping in mind basically that, you know, Article 8, and even if this wasn't ever written, like just knowing our political status being nationals, that we have the right to do this anyway, right? But in law, it's called basically autonomy, you know what I mean? And that is the political independence of a nation, the right and condition or power of self-government, the negation of a state of political influence from without or from foreign powers. And that definition of autonomy is in the Black's Law, 4th edition, page 170. So, you know, we're not just talking birthright, it's actually being exercised. So let that be an example. You know what I mean? And with that, I just wanted to state my piece on that subject.
That's interesting. Can you add, too, that the other reason why that most people don't get it is because there's this other indoctrination where they actually believe in their heads. And this is one of the biggest problems we have right now, and I trust it's being cured, is that these other associations, like you made a great point when you said they'll go they'll go to the CVS, to the drugstores, to the post office, get an identification, get a passport thing and all that. They don't question that shit. They don't question that not one little bit. And here that is, those are corporations, you know, that are serviced out to to the corporate states. Now, the big problem is that they really believe, because they do it all the time, that the government, that these entities, these corporations are government. And so that's one of the things that have to come out of your mouth. Like, for instance, I was listening and people say, oh, well, you know, anti-government people. No. Take that out of your mouth, because they're not government. So, you know, they're worthy of being anti, because they're the anti-government. They are the anti-government. But people think that these corporations and counties and municipalities are actually government. And actually they're government. And that brainwashing and indoctrination brings you to even ask the question, is something that is aligned in allegiance politically with your nation, your own nation, has authority or not? It's just absolutely ludicrous, you know, to even ask that question. But we have to understand why, because most people believe that these other things are corporations, are governments, and they are not. Islam.
Indeed.
Islam.
Wow.
All right.
And to add on, is like, if I add on with what you was just saying about people saying that, you know, Moors are anti-government, et cetera, you brought it out right. It's not that people are anti-government. It's just like you said, these are not governments. These are de facto quasi-institutions, right, that are not for government at all. You know what I mean? Because it just all comes right back around that, you know, the government is the family. The authority of the government is the family dealing with nationality. So when they call Moors, Negro, black, color, African American, taking this out of our family appellation, this was anti-government. You know what I mean? It was bigger than a dispute than just, you know, the common logic, because we know we're not black because of brown skin. That doesn't add up. But that was like politically motivated as well, to take us out of the international standing dealing with those types of affairs. So you never really connect back to the true government is your nation. You know what I mean? Like, is your nationality, you know? So let me say this, and I'm going to read this from out the John Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law, Francis Rawley's third revision, page 1366. This is the definition of government. Excuse me. It's an excerpt out of this definition. And I'm starting where it says, as society originates with family, so does authority or government. Nowhere do men exist without authority among them, even though it were but in its mere inception. Men are forced into the state of things by the fundamental law that with them and them alone of all mammals, the period of dependence of the young upon its parents outlasts by many years period of lactation. I'm going to stop right there, because it's letting you know right there that the parents, the mother, has a lot to do with the authority, and as it starts with family, right? So it goes right back to the mother actually being the authority, because the dependency upon both parents there, you know, however that may go, family based off of situations. But the fact that it's going back to, you know, lactation, dealing with the breast milk, et cetera, it shows that the mother is the government. That's really what it is. So you can't be anti-government if you're dealing with your birthrights and nationality. You have to understand what it is. And that in itself is governmental activity, just understanding that. These are laws of nature. So it says... So
would you warn the people? Would you warn the people, as we have, from saying that you're a sovereign citizen and letting them put that on you? It's the same as you walking around in anger talking about anti-government, that it has the same validity. They're not government, so don't say you're anti. You are anti what they're doing, but they're not government. And so to say And, right, this is a very important thing we're sharing because you're giving them a validity that they do not have by calling them government in the first place. Then you're admitting or allowing them to admit for you that you're anti-government. No. You can never say that you're not anti-government because, as Mrs. says, that means you're anti your mom. You're anti-birth.
And that's just what it is. You know what I mean? And then it goes in. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to raise their children. I'm just saying from this reference, and this is from a law reference, and it's the definition of government. You know what I mean? It's going in like this. So, you know, it just immediately just brought me back to everything Noble Ali was saying about being one family, one free national appellation, etc. You know what I mean? Because without the nationality, you're already talking about a subjugation. You know what I mean? Being in that type of status, if you will. Though nobody can change your descent nature, you know, everybody has to come through the womb, and nationality goes with that there. So, you know, it all correlates back to the law of nature, which is immutable. And without a nationality, that's or anybody trying to deny somebody's nationality and national standing, that in itself is anti-government. And again, like you said, you know, it's nothing about, not about claiming to be sovereign citizens. We're just saying that, you know, as a national family, we have autonomy, like every other nation does by birthright anyway. So, for sure. Because now, you know what I mean, you're talking law, government, you have to speak of international law because there's so much that goes on with other nations in different things for majority of people. So it's not anti-government. It's international law.
Islam. All right. So let's see. What we're going to do now is open up the phone lines. But you know what? Before we open up the phone lines, I just want to say one thing as it relates to this question. And it was a comment I made earlier, and I almost forgot it, but I just remembered. In the case of this particular question, where it says, I mean, just to correlate, as Ms. likes to say, isn't it true that the nationality card has to be issued by a nation or a temple or a Grand Sheik, right? Now, let's just look at this. We can equate the temple and the Grand Sheik to, for example, a Catholic church and a priest. I have never seen any modern European go to any church or priest to get a nationality card.
Word.
And there's no requirement to do so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so why is it that, you know, look, you can go to AAA and get a so-called identification card under, for example, the Catholic Church and the priest. You can go to a library. You can go to a bank. You can go to all, what do you call it? Because you can even go to their so-called, what do you call it, their passport issuing department. All of those could be equated in some way to fall under the Catholic Church and the priest.
Mm-hmm.
So if modern Europeans can go all these different places, and many of them have their own publishing company or publishing whatever under their banner, and get a national identification, these modern Europeans can go to all these different places, but the Moors can only go to their Grand Sheik and temple, which can be likened to the church and the priest. Why is that? I mean, are you getting my connection here?
Yeah.
The Aboriginal and Indigenous people are limited to going and getting any type of identification in one place, but the modern Europeans who are foreign in this land can go anywhere.
Word. And you know what popped in my head when you said that? The word equity and equality. Now, I know, because I remember in the Institutes of American Law, they were going in about equity, saying how it's better than any human institution, right? And when I think of what Noble Drew Ali was bringing, when he was saying, I trust my people find the truth and the divine truth, and will find the true and divine way, like understanding equity, equality, balance, equilibrium, etc. We have the right as people, just like they could go to different Christian societies and get, state of New Jersey, state of New York, PA, all these different Christian corporations. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't the Aboriginal people have that same political power? Of course we do. You know what I mean? Real talk, so for sure. Yeah.
We look at this, and look, I'm not going to talk anymore about that, but and I'm not beating anybody up, because there's a lot of people who have this thinking, but it shows that we definitely still are functioning under the mental enslavement that the modern Europeans have put upon us, right? And really, this is not a bashing or anything like that, but what it should show people, those people who have this type of thinking, and don't beat yourself up about it, because we have these same types of revelations, but what it shows you is that you really do need to study more, because you haven't quite diluted the misinformation in your head. And see, it just popped up with that question. It just popped up. That mental enslavement that the modern Europeans have put on us just popped up when you ask that type of a question, because you have no problem limiting yourself and your family. But you do not do that to foreigners. That's mental enslavement.
Real talk. Yeah.
So with that, I'll just go open up the lines and let's see what the family has to say. We got an hour and 13 minutes left to the internet broadcast, and we want to hear other family members' thoughts. So if you have a question, a comment, press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will begin to take callers. All right, so we got caller 708-800. Please state your appellation and Northwestern Mexican.
Hey, how you doing? This is Anderson over there calling from Northwestern Mexican. I had a quick question. I was doing some studies and I found this case law. It's the trustees of Dartmouth versus I believe it's Woodward, and it's 1819. And basically, to summarize it, it's basically they had a charter prior to the Constitution, and the Supreme Court ruled that charter still stands. So I was actually looking at the Chapter 7 Quran, second to last chapter, verses 6 through 12, which states that we talk to the pharaohs to come over here and establish, as well as, with the Chapter 7 Quran and the affidavit that the Prophet filled, basically contracting with the U.S. corporation and the state of Illinois corporation, that our authority comes from the Chapter 7 Quran, which they recognize. So my question is that right? I guess, am I on the right path?
You said that the authority comes from the Circle 7 Quran?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I got a wrong one, but the one I had says it comes from the Holy Quran of Mecca.
Holy Quran of Mecca, which is, I'm perceiving that as the Circle 7 Quran.
Well, all those books really are Circle 7 books when you read them, if you know that. Like all of them are Circle 7 books. But when we say Circle 7, we strictly talking about a book, yes, the Holy Quran of the Moor's Holy Temple of Science. But all of them are dealing with the 7. Know that too.
Okay.
So it basically, what it was saying is that we're not under Christian jurisdiction. Like if you know the history of, quote,
Definitely.
Christian powers in, you know, the relationship with Moors, basically what he was saying at that time was we're not under that jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I got
so the international diversity was already known.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I was looking at the Supreme Court case, and I'm like, wow, because, you know, we did talk to the, you know, pharaohs, which it states in Circle 7, to come over here and establish. And I'm thinking that's pretty much, you know, the same thing that involves the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which basically states that we, you know, there was a nation here, you know, prior and after the Constitution was established.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because only nations could legitimately do that.
And that's where we, you know, can operate and get our allodial titles and, you know, give out allodial identification cards lawfully.
Absolutely. There you go. Ninth Amendment, fam. Ninth Amendment. And then,
That's right.
and then you look at it, yeah, and then again you look at it, this is what makes the Constitution so great. You know what I mean? Because Noble Drew Ali, he brought back both concepts of religion and nationality because it was a big part of the politics at that time and still is. Because, you know, it was really based off of Christianity, what the Europeans was bringing. You know what I mean? The Christian powers. So when you look at the law of the land, right, in the Moor's Holy Temple of Science, it was originally about civics, but then they say it was instituted as a religious corporation, etc. Well, then you go to the First Amendment, you know, people have the right to freely exercise. But there's nothing you could do to still escape the message that Noble Drew Ali was bringing you. Why? Because he said we honor all true and divine prophets, Confucius, Buddha, Muhammad, and Yahshua. So there you go. You know what I mean? The lessons were universal opposed to, you know, just one. But it was known that Moors weren't under the Christian rule at that particular time. That their mind state was not Christian. You know what I mean? He was definitely not Christianized in the head.
Definitely. And also it states, you know, that's where the flag come into place. You know, the flag was the first creation of civilization. That's why they didn't destroy it. I don't know. I mean, you know, I just wanted to share that with y'all. I actually have to get out of here. I have to get ready for work. But, yeah, I just wanted to share that with y'all and wanted your opinion on it. I appreciate y'all listening to me, though.
All right.
All right.
I just want to add to Islam, peace and love. And for the listeners, what you're saying is if you read chapter 46, the beginning of Christianity, that also helps to gain understanding and understanding that this is not about the Christian. For us, it's not about the Christian powers or the Christian pseudo religion. It's right there.
Right.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, all right. So let's see. We're going to take our next caller. Caller 862.
All that debt with so many people fall for, it's like, do it. Because the debt is set up for you. Okay, I'm going to
All right, they are distracted. So let's go to our next caller. Caller 404-974. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maximum.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes. Islam.
Yeah.
Islam.
Can you speak up a little louder? Or into the mic more?
What about now?
Yeah.
Oh, better.
Good.
Okay, Islam. I wanna first of all commend you all on what a great job you all are doing. I took a minute. This is the Kill Bay, calling from the Georgia Republic, northwest of Mexico. I'm just I took a second and kind of went another way to handle some other affairs, but I'm just glad to see that you all are still keeping the ball rolling. Kudos to you in your outstanding work in helping uplift fallen humanity. I had a question. I have a mother that I run with, or that I am continuously in conversation with, or whatever, and she had the belief that that she kind of was tired of Moors not necessarily wanting to vote. I'm not sure if you all are aware, but I think like today was the primary some odd thing where they were doing primaries in a whole bunch of these corporate states or whatnot, and so she was under. I guess she had the belief that even though times have changed, she was saying that nothing could really change until we at least got out and I guess made our opinions known or whatnot. Actually, from what I hear, there actually was a pretty decent candidate in the runnings, if you will, by the name of I was gonna say Bernie Madoff. What is his name? Bernie Sanders.
Islam. No. I'm fighting at the tongue to say the same thing, Emily, because I know you're gonna go into. I am so sorry. None of that has anything to do with us. If they read the Constitution, the President of the United States is not the President of the United States of America.
Mhm. That's just. I was just wanting you to run through that. I kind of have that position. I
read the Constitution, Article 1, and you will see that right, and plus they're violating the guaranteed form of government, which is the Republic. Not that it has anything to do with their Republic, Democrat, bullcrap. That's all smoke and mirrors. The President of the United States of America is not what we would be running for, or any other positions under their quasi-national domicile. All they need to be doing is executing the law, not creating any. That's it, and that's all. As the president, you've got to read the Constitution to see that. And I know you want to add something to that, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm breaking that down in my new book. Go ahead.
Because here's the thing, and and Roz is so absolutely correct. A lot of people don't know Obama is just the CEO of a corporation that is called the United States of America.
Yep.
That's their name. They are not the authority on this land, although just because they got military out there, or I should say mercenaries out there that will kidnap you on behalf of these various corporations, as the definition of police advises you. That is the fact that they are not the authority. In truth, the Aboriginal indigenous people are the authority on this land. And if you read the prophet's word, all right, he says that there will one day be a what did he say? A president, a Moorish president, and a modern European vice president, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so we got to look at things in the right. I mean, and he's talking about the Constitution, because if you read the Constitution, President of the United States is supposed to be, there's supposed to be a president of the United States. Read the Constitution. And then there's supposed to be a president for the United States of America. But there's a president for the United States of America, and that has nothing to do with the Moors, because that was established for the modern Europeans. Therefore, their presidential election is only for the modern Europeans. It has nothing to do with Moors.
The inactivity of Moors as to why the problem is the inactivity. That's why he said take your active Moors, not passive, take your place amongst the affairs of man, of which is what we're supposed to be doing. And the United States president, even the United States president, is an interface for us to interface with them, being the United States of America. The representing that, it's just an interface between the natural people. Really, once we establish the union, that's it, and that's all. But since we walked out and sent it there, well, the law still runs. People think, oh, yeah, the Constitution is suspended. That's crap. And, you know, the only powers they have is executive, which is to enforce the already existing law, but not legislative to make any law, because that's done hand in hand with Congress, which walked out. So therefore, there's no new law. That's why they give you statutes.
Right. And I was just getting ready to say that. The President of the United States, if you read the Constitution, the President writes the law. That body of people writes the law. The United States of America only has authority to execute, that's administer, execute the law. And when they write statutes is policies and procedures on how to execute the law in some form or fashion. And so when you look at some of these statutes and they look colorable, well, they are and they are not. Because most of the colorable so-called, most of the colorable statutes that people interpret or believe is law actually can only happen if you trick the people into giving the appearance, voluntarily giving up their unalienable and inalienable rights. Now, it's a trick because you can never do that. But many of these statutes are written with the mind, with the thought at the front of the mind that in order for it to actually go into action, they got to somehow trick the people into believing that they must do this. For example, the driving instrument. Now, your right to travel is unalienable and inalienable, both. But they get the majority of the people to apply for something. And the application appears to be voluntary, but it's not. So I'm just saying that's what is happening under the banner of the United States of America. And they are in such a way where that if you were to come after the state or the feds, they can simply say, well, we never wrote it that way. But guess what? It's for the people to know. And to a degree, they're absolutely correct. Because we're not supposed to be just doing things based on what somebody told us. We're supposed to do the research so that we can know. That's what's supposed to be happening as normal activity, not exceptional activity.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, already know that the Electoral College actually picks the president anyway. Like, it was never based on people's opinion, because they're opinion polls. And I even think the Electoral College process is in the Constitution. Yeah, there you go. So the people, the general people don't even have really a say-so. It's an opinion. You know, they already know who they're going to pick right now. Like, or they might be,
right.
you know, but for the most part, they know who's going to be in there now and subsequently, preferably. Yeah. So, you know, they know what time it is. Yeah, but that goes back to free national ballots, opposed to, because Noble Drew Ali was mentioning about that, about casting a free national ballot, opposed to actually voting.
But they don't have to worry, because that process of voting is for the President of the United States of America. There is no precedent for any more to put in that spot as the President of the United States. There's nobody there. That seat is empty. As many of the United States are empty.
Yeah, exactly. So real quick, how would that process look like when we were to cast our free national ballot?
First of all, under the Moors, all right, we're not voting for your Bernies and your Hillary Clinton.
No.
You know,
a whole other thing.
Nor would we be voting for Barack Obama, because he's a modern European himself. All right.
Not just that. He's not running for the national. The key is national. They're quasi-national.
But
so if we were active, like when we had appointed presidents that were for a year, if you go back before George Washington, which was elected, remember the presidents that people recognize now? There's a total of 17. They thought it was 8. We got 8 of them listed in one of the books, 33 Questions for Children. But that was for the president where we were dealing with the United States.
Right.
So unless we're active in the plebiscite and our government, instead of being unactive, you know what I mean? That's why it's not happening. So when you say national ballot, you're talking about a national, not a quasi-national. Every single union state is quasi-national. What they're doing is for them. We got to understand that.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. First of all, the voting that is going on right now is not really a vote of the people, the modern Europeans, based on the Union state and the Constitution. That's not what's going on right now. And as Ralph said, there is no voting in place for the Moors under the President of the United States and all of the offices that go with that. Because if you read the Constitution, the people that sit on the Supreme Court, those are all supposed to be Moors chosen by the President of the United States, not the United States of America.
So then, and what that means is, and the brother listening, is that we have to first know and agree, instead of all this bickering and division, that we are one nation.
Yes.
Before we can do that, we're still bickering over whether or not we're some other special kind of Moor, or whether or not, and some people are claiming that they're more American national and doing quasi-national stuff. So until we get that straight, it doesn't matter what you're asking, because that has to come first. And that's what a plebiscite is. Look up plebiscite. That means all encompassing. We already know who we are, but a lot of people, we're not active. We're not taking our place amongst the affairs of man to get to that point. And some people are running their little groups and clubs just like that, independently and stuff. And some people I've seen some people talk about writing the Constitution. It's ridiculous what we're doing, not recognizing that it's already done.
That's all righty, peace and love. All righty, hold on a minute. All right, caller 910-709. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
Peace and love. This is Brother Ernest Manning Bay, Northwestern Maxim. Okay, to piggyback what was said, Islam. First of all, I want to thank you for everything you guys do. To piggyback on what was said tonight, in spirit of Camelback, my bad. Camelback. Okay, good. And that's what I meant to say. Okay, now we talk about our energy, okay, and in the Christian calendar year, in the Moorish calendar year, okay. How do we come into harmony with the universe, okay, to offset what the so-called Christians tried to do as far as the calendar is concerned, and to get back to those dates, so that when we
follow astrology and follow the planet, because they tell you what time it is, because there is no such thing as time. Period. It's just about cycles. That is how we do that portion right there. Because the same calendar year that you're talking about, like Christian calendar year or whatever, is the same day, time, space, or whatever, and the Christian calendar calls it one thing, and the Moorish calendar calls it another thing, but it is what it is in terms of where the planetary bodies are and the time that it emits, or the cycles that it emits. Exactly.
I'm with you on that. But when our family's energy ties into that other calendar, how do we offset that?
When your family is what?
Our family's energy. We know this, but our family's energy. When you put energy into something, it kind of brings it, keeps it afloat.
Yeah. Well, here's the easy thing, and then Liz, I know you might want to comment. Back to the same answer. Follow astrology. Follow the sciences of the universe as an example. What you could do, because you talk about getting the families and friends and whatever energy on the right path. So the first lesson, I think, that makes common sense that can be shown to them for them to receive it, is a simple lesson. But if they don't receive it, you just got to keep it moving, family or not, because we're all family anyway, I'm telling you. Because, for instance, the 7 days, like this is circle 7. All right, it's 7 days in the week, 7 days in the month, 7 days in a year, because it is a cycle. So then what would you do? You would say, all right, Monday, the first day of the week is Sunday. Look at an old calendar. Right now, don't even look at the old calendar. The first day of the week starts with Sunday, which is the dominion of this solar system that we're in, as named after the planetary body, the sun, Domingo, in Moorish Latin. And then Monday is pronounced and said as Luna, which is named after the moon. And then Tuesday is pronounced as Martes, which is named after Mars. There's like kind of some solid proof right there.
I got
And look, if your family doesn't get it with that, they might not want to get it.
Exactly. And right. I guess that's what I'm alluding to, because, and I keep it, y'all putting it down just as, it's just as simple as it can be, and I hear the comments, I hear all the different things, after y'all put it down, so I already know what it is. They don't want to get it. Okay? It's just too plain. It's beautiful.
Hard to see and to listen.
And look, and Miz is always talking about television, and I was thinking about Dr. Yapa Bay. She had a segment on, and she talked about the charm ones, and I just happened to watch that show today, and I saw how they were writing in to change the story, the spell and the spelling. And it just amazed me how I used to think about Miz said there's always a subliminal message in a lot of things that they put on these programs.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, that's how they communicate, man. That's how they, and we was just talking about that. Like, you have to have certain keys to catch certain things anyway, because like you could sit 10 people in the room and take something simple as the Wizard of Oz without keys, like, you know what I mean? They're not gonna. Some people are gonna walk away not even understanding the message that was in it. You know what I mean? So it's like it depends on where your mind state is at of what you perceive back to perception and reality. You know, and that's just what it is. So for sure, you gotta be eyes wide open. We put it in the art.
I'm with you. By any means necessary, I'm with you. All right. I just want to let you know that. Peace and love.
All right.
All right.
Peace and love.
Thank you so much. Oh.
Thank you.
All right. We have caller 502-294. Caller 502-294. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maximum.
Islam. This is Brother Sahudi Alim Bay coming straight out of Northwestern Maximum. How y'all doing? I'm good. I have a good friend with me. I just brought him into the information and the conscience of the Moors, and he just had a few questions in regards to who the Moors are, about religion, and a couple other things.
Mm.
How y'all doing?
Well, Finn, how about you?
Pretty good. Like you said, I'm kind of new to the information. I kind of have some of the stuff that he was telling me. I had kind of, been questionable about my whole life. But, like my family, they believe they real strong in the Christian Baptist church. So they believe in like God and Jesus. So I was brought up to believe that way. And, so sometimes I don't know if I'm believing because I was taught to believe, or if that's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's where you got to come out of the degrees from belief and knowing. You know what I mean? Like true religion versus dogma. Like you heard the conversation in previous calls before was about the calendar. The true religion is based off of the movement of the planetary bodies and the stars. That's true religion. All of those books are codified lessons based off of that, really. So, like, it's about pulling the cosmology out of those books to understand what it is. But as far as belief and, I don't know about that experience totally because I didn't experience that all the way. Like, I've attended a church before, but I didn't have to dogmatically believe anything. So I don't know what your aspects are as far as what you were taught to believe opposed to what you know. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, like, one of the things that had threw me off, though, was, like, manifestation because, like, when I was talking to my mom about it, I believe in manifestation, but I don't think it really fit in the Baptist religion.
Mm-hmm. Well, indeed, and that's cool. And can I say one thing? This is my analysis.
I want to add something too. Go ahead.
This is my analysis on it. Like, wherever you go, you have to travel to get there, whatever distance it may be. It could be around the corner. It could be miles away. From the time you leave your house, to the time you get to the church, like if you can't find a reason to find God between your house and the church, you might be really looking in the wrong places. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the evidence is all around you, the trees, the sun, the moon, whatever. You know what I mean? The evidence is there, if that's what they call it. If they're not talking about that higher creative energy and breaking it down to whereas, you understand universal principles opposed to believing and worshiping or idolizing any one human being that existed before, or maybe not. Either way, belief is only going to take you so far. You have to know in what's evident. You know what I mean? And I don't know if they taught you about astrology. I'm assuming more than likely they didn't.
No.
But, right. But this goes back to what Noble Drew Ali was saying in religious controversy about the sun hanging at high noon and men comprehending not the light. Because I remember church time was 12 noon. Why? You know what I mean? But if you're looking or supposed to be dealing with the Son of God, then at 12 noon, everybody should have their astrological telescopes out to observe the sun. I mean, if that's, excuse me, it's not to worship the sun, but observing the creations that are evident. Like, that's true religion. That doesn't require belief. Like, we know the sun exists. We know the moon exists. We know stars exist. You know, these living things have a life force energy. So without dealing with what's most evident first, it's going to be hard to grasp because you're interjecting, you know, people in the place of that instead of realizing the unity of life. I don't know if I can give you all the answers of those years of that dogma in one session, but definitely get familiar with Noble Drew Ali's work and R.V. Bay publications in your studies, being as though you're relatively new to the information. Like, start studying and you'll start connecting more dots, you know. I didn't want to take the whole floor. I know somebody was going to add on. I
just wanted to add on, one short thing, only because, brother, you mentioned about belief, you mentioned about manifestation. And it's really, this is a simple lesson that may also assist in and that is that you believe something, and as Ms. said, you got to graduate to knowing. So, belief, if your mother or your teacher said these are the ABCs, right? And this is how someone explained it to me, and I got it. They tell you these are the ABCs. As a child, you believe that they're the ABCs because you don't really know. However, you graduate to knowing once you start using those same ABCs and writing words and sentences. Now you don't believe they're the ABCs. You know that they are. So you just graduate from belief being a precursor to knowledge. Now you have to have faith in order to manifest, right? So now you have to have, So now you have to have faith in what? In what you know that you just graduated. Now faith in what you know in order to manifest your reality. And then you have things that assist, like fertilizing a seed that you put in the ground and you give it the water, you give the moon and the sun so it can grow and stuff like that. So you would speak the right words. That's why first there was the Word, and the Word was with God, the Word is God, as they have stated. And you would write. When you speak it, you fertilize it. That's why you have to have the right jurisdiction. Juris being right, diction meaning words. And then when you write it or spell some, so mote it be. You just spelled it. You just cast a spell based on what you know. And that's what manifests your reality, is going from belief being a precursor to knowing, and then faith being the precursor to manifestation of what you know. So that means that applying what you know is how you gain wisdom. But if you don't apply what you know, you're never going to gain the wisdom. I trust that kind of explains that belief, faith, manifestation, or fruition, same thing.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, brother. Peace and love.
Thank you.
Yes, peace and love. Thank you so much for your call. There was a question in the chat room. Oh, goodness. Hang on a minute. All right, fine. All righty. There was a question in the chat room. Let me see if I can find it. How is federal case law relevant to us if the President of the USA, that's the United States of America, is the one that chooses the Supreme Court justices, i.e., Shalia, who recently passed away. And then there was another question that read, if you're a registered voter, you have effectively aligned yourself to Rome and contracted away your Moorish birthright. I just want to address those two. First, the first one regarding federal case law, all case laws must be in harmony with the American Constitution. If they are not, they are null and void. And there is case law to support that. But guess what? It's also supported in the Constitution. It's your 9th and 10th Amendment. And two, if you're a registered voter, you have effectively aligned yourself to Rome and contracted away your Moorish birthright. First of all, if that information right there was not relayed to the person prior to allegedly entering into a contract, then they never aligned themselves with Rome and they never contracted away their Moorish birthright, because the contracting away of any birthright, which is an impossibility, must be done with complete knowledge. And there is case law to support that. But guess what? It's also the entire message of the American Constitution. Islam,
and I want to I got the case law right here about the waiving of rights. That's a beautiful thought here. And let me just pull it up real quick so that we can get that, because it basically says, I got to find it, that waiving of any right must be with knowledge, full knowledge that it has been done. That means that unless you have somewhere written down or recorded under oath or recorded as your response or written as your response that says from your mouth that you are waiving any rights and that you were totally competent, that is what you were doing, guess what? You didn't waive your rights. That's why the case law is saying supports it. You can't waive your rights unless you are totally aware that that is what you are doing. And that also is the same with contracts. First one has to exist, as you said, and then it has to be within the bounds of what a contract is, which again goes right back to the constitutional principles that it must have full disclosure. That's why we keep telling people who think that these birth certificates are contracts. They're not contracts. They're not signed with mutual agreement. They're not that at all. So I'm going to oh man, can't find it there on case law fast enough. Let's see. I really want to read this case law so that we can get it, because I think that if we get this and utilize it in all of our activities, man, oh man, like there's no way. And we believe whatever someone says or whatever even they say about different things, and we ought not do that. Hold on, I think I got it right. I have not waived my rights on the definition.
I just want to say, while you pull that, I just want to say the irony or the aspect of birthrights being inalienable, right? The fact that it's inalienable means it's non-transferable. So you can always go back and claim your birthright.
Exactly.
Something that can't be contracted away. Like, that's the beautiful thing about it. Is you can't, I mean, if you agree to something, people are going to hold you to that agreement. But at any time, your birthright can supersede or does supersede, quasi-agreements, especially if it's non-disclosed, like everything is not fully disclosed. You know what I mean? Your birthright will definitely supersede that, for sure. So I just was saying that in conjunction with the fact, it can't be contracted away, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something? Because I'm still looking for this, and I know I have it.
No, actually, Ms. said it.
Right, but I gotta find it. This is crazy. I'm on the wrong computer. I gotta find it so we can really get that. Just can't happen. You can't identification case law. Let's see. Oh man. Why I can't find it? Lawful definition. Right. Yeah, it's man. I'm gonna find it when I do. I'll interject it. Okay. All right. I don't want to hold up the movement forward, but I definitely want the opportunity to come back and read that. So hold on, everyone. I think okay. All right. If there's anything else that's going to be added to that, yes.
All right, let me go and take the next caller while you're looking for that. Caller 910-709. Want to air? Take your appellation at Northwestern Maxim. Islam?
Peace, man.
All right, let me go. Wait. Are you there?
Hello?
Caller 910-709 Islam.
What's name? What's number?
Did you have a question or a comment you wanted to make?
Did you say 709-2971?
I said 910-709.
Yeah, that was me. I'm sorry, Mother Ann. But Sister Roz had already brought the energy on what I was getting ready to ask, so I let it go. I hit one to get out the queue.
Oh, all right. Well, once I unmute you hit one.
Okay.
Oh, and I found it. May I interject it right now?
All right, yes.
All right, Brady versus U.S. 397 U.S. 742 748. Waivers of constitutional rights, not only must they be voluntary, they must be knowingly intelligent, done with sufficient awareness. So you have to, first of all, agree to waiving it if you were going to. Then you must be very, very aware, sufficiently aware that is exactly what you're doing. So when they're talking to you as if you have no right to be denied, you can rely on this. Say, wait a minute, hold on. I never waived any of my rights. That's why when they say to you, do you waive your right to counsel? I don't waive any of my rights, even though you can't waive your right to counsel. But right. So this is really important for us to realize, because we walk around assuming a lot of things, and that's why stating your declaring your nationality, the judicial notice and proclamation is simply a notice so that there are no assumptions regarding you. But if you yourself are assumptive about your own birthright, then this is where the problem is, meaning that we do not know enough about ourselves, which is also why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, hey, look, I came to teach you to be yourself. And in being yourself, you would already know that there is no power that can change your descent nature, and then you would also know what all of that entails. And you would know that you can't waive any rights unless you voluntarily did so. So back to, well, where's the contract where I waive my rights? Because it's got to be written, and it has to be where I am sufficiently aware that I did it. Same thing when they say to you, when you're in one of these so-called courtrooms, and the magistrate who's supposed to be a referee, about whatever matter is there, starts talking about, well, we're going to put a plea in of not guilty for you. Excuse me, where's the contract that I made you power of attorney over me? Mm-hmm. This is how we have to be thinking on our toes, if you will. Islam.
Islam. That is absolutely correct. Because they will absolutely try and speak for you, and if you don't speak up, and that's the whole point here. You get the people to just allow anyone, to violate their unalienable and inalienable rights. That's why when we were sent to these mental institutions, these institutions that they call schools, the intent was to miseducate us, misinform us. This is the only way that you can trick people, is if you misinform them and don't give them the necessary information so that they can make an informed decision. That's all that's going on here. It doesn't mean that we as a people are dumb or stupid. We're in a situation right now, because we take a lot of things. We need to really look and reflect on certain things. We look at some of the things that these modern Europeans do to us, and we get extremely angry, and rightly so. But at the same time, we shouldn't beat ourselves up, all right? Because we need to recognize more to the point of these modern Europeans, they behave as though they are in a race. And because they know that it doesn't matter who the players are, as long as they're Aboriginal and Indigenous, they already know they're going to lose the race. So, for every race that they want to win, they have to fix it so that they cripple the Aboriginal and Indigenous people who are running on the tracks. This is an analogy I'm giving here. They have to cripple the people who they know is going to win the race every single time. That's the only way they can win the race. And it's a sad thing when there is a group of people who know up front that they will lose hands down if they did not give us the necessary the necessary information. They already know that they would lose hands down if they did give us the necessary information to correct certain situations, if not all situations, not just for ourselves, but for the other citizens. They already know this. So they have to handicap us. And so how do they do that? They deny us the necessary information, that information being law, so that we can make decisions based on reasonable analysis. That's a sad thing when you think about it from that light. That's a very sad thing. It also demonstrates just how great a people we are. So, we need to look at this from a different perspective. That's all I'm saying. But I'm going to take the next caller. Caller 513-981. I believe this is Sister Jayana. Is that you, Sister Jayana?
Yes, this is me, Islam.
Islam.
I just wanted to make a comment on the caller who called it in earlier about voting rights, and I just wanted to share something that helped me to understand and understand the condition of our people when we are not nationalized and trying to take a stand by using the so-called voting rights. And this is something that was written by Tariq Bey. So, the natural law and sovereign power of the defeated Moors, branded Negro, Black, Colored, has always been suppressed through and by the colonies and or states, using coercion and force, even with the blindly respecting Voting Rights Act, which is a fraud. There is no such thing as voting rights for any non-union citizens or non-state citizens, because the Constitution lets us know that we can never be a part of the union states or the the Union States. Voting in the Union States Society for anyone other than the European Albion male is only by limited privilege. The Voting Rights Act can never be law in the United States of America and cannot be backed by constitutional law. Voting rights imply sovereign participation on the part of the subjugated Moors. This is fraud. Even when the state's slave wards vote, i.e. Moors who have not declared a nationality, even when they do vote, they vote by privilege, not by right, using the European colony family surname. This, too, is an act of fraud on slaves' part by a neutral and any true benefit at law. This is why there is and has never been any profound or lasting progress in the ward communities or so-called black communities, irregardless of the number of voting participants. There is no firm or violent challenge coming from the European citizens of the states concerning the fake Voting Rights Act because they are well aware of that the state wards, i.e. Negro, black, colored people, or Moors who've been branded Negro, black, colored, have no sovereign power due to their status as corporate state property or what people call artificial person. And I also wanted to add that for people who are looking into or studying on that subject of voting and the Moors and taking their stand or part in that, they should look up the word plebes, Plebs, and that's all.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you so much for that. I was going to say something, but I lost my train of thought, so I'm going to have to wait for it to come back.
All good.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was excellent. All righty. Caller 919-740, you are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
Islam family, this is Naisha Bay. How are you guys doing tonight?
Thank you.
I do have a quick question, and it's kind of just camelbacking off of the previous caller discussing waivers and just the case law that kind of discussed that we cannot basically knowingly or intelligently waive our rights. And I just had a quick question about marriage because I read on the RV Bay publication site about the modern marriage contract, and basically that once I corrected my status that basically I have nothing to do with what may have taken place as an unconscious Moor. And I'm bringing this all up because once I kind of read that as far as handling my husband or estranged husband, I chose not to proceed with a so-called legal divorce, being that it doesn't really dissolve anything. So now, right. He has a situation where he's calling me because he's got a sick father and he's not from this country, and he wants to kind of complete his paperwork dealing with the corporate faux government. And, basically I personally feel like I have nothing to do with that. So I don't know what to tell him other than, he's on his own with that situation. And I'm not sure, how one would proceed.
What is he trying to do? What is he trying to do that he wants to end, he wants to have what he thinks is a legal divorce with you?
Well, I wanted a legal divorce, but I didn't proceed with it. But now he wants to, because he's not, quote, unquote, a U.S. citizen because, he is from, quote, unquote, South Africa. So when we were still together, he never proceeded with the paperwork. He was trying to start a business and, just things, time went on and he never finished the paperwork. So now he wants to become a legal, quote, U.S. citizen and so he can be able to travel back and forth. So, he's basically an unconscious Moor. While I've moved on with my life and declared my nationality.
What is it that he is looking for you to do?
I don't know the whole immigration process, but sign on the dotted line and stuff like that. And I don't really feel like I have anything to do with that.
Okay, but sign what on the dotted line? I mean, because
whatever he. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, see, if they're making it, you have to know what type of a demand is being made of you. Now, I hear you saying that you now, based on your studies, recognize that the whole marriage was just a sham. This whole marriage concept under the modern European policies and procedures is a sham. I get that, but you have to be able to rebut or put in, because see, it's all a claim. You have to look at it from the perspective that it's all a claim, and all claims must be rebutted. So I hear you saying that you don't feel like you're obligated to sign on any dotted line or provide any information or whatever, but you still got to know what is it that they are asking of you or demanding of you, because you have to write a writ to rebut that. At least, if nothing, to say that you recognize that this is some process that XYZ is engaging in. However, that has nothing to do with me, as I'm a Moorish American national, and this is not a procedure that, whatever, something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. You understand? You still got to know what is it they're asking of you, because you're right. Just because you are not wanting to go through with this so-called divorce because you understand the contractual limitations or fraud of it, you still have to, first of all, if you're going to do that, you still got to put something in writing as it relates to this fraudulent alleged marriage contract. You still got to document, that you are absolving yourself of it, and that because you now have learned through studies that lawfully it's violating your constitutionally secured rights, and it had no validity. And you can even list some case laws that state that, and you can even go and reference the rights of indigenous people. I would advise that you kind of sort of look into the whole the convention, United Nations Convention on Genocide, Rights of Indigenous People. You gotta document your position as it relates to this whole marriage issue. And once you do that, then you can take this document or whatever that this guy is trying to tell you you need to go and fill out, or they're alleging that you have some sort of obligation to at least sign it, and you need to know what that says, write a rebuttal, and you can then even just let them know that this is a matter of public record. But you're the one that's going to have to make the public record regarding this so-called marriage. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Right. And that makes complete sense to me as far as stating my position and go ahead.
Yeah, you because look, they have this thing documented in some county corporation filing cabinet, and you've made your position clear for yourself. But since this is some sort of a document that's out there, you want to also rebut it from the, that's got to be done in writing. Now, and see, if somebody else comes along, you can say, well, this now once, even like if this person says, oh, I want you to sign this paper regarding whatever, because you're my wife. You can just write a writ saying that officially, for real, this contract has been voided. Because guess what? You voided it. But you're the only one that can even make that claim. You don't need Right? You don't need the county corporation to make some appearance as though they're voiding a contract, a fraudulent contract that wasn't even real from the beginning. You don't want them to do that. You can do that. And then they're going to charge you to make believe they're doing something that they ain't even doing to begin with.
Exactly. This is so true. Okay. And
you can void it yourself. Any contract or presumed contract, you can void. And it's always an alleged contract, because unless you have full knowledge of all of the ramifications, even the fact that it's not even really being, put into it, it really has no force. You can write a writ. Can all that stuff really? That's the power of the people. Islam.
Thank you. I think that answers my question completely.
Yeah.
And one last thing. One last thing. I know last week I was listening to last week's call in the archives, and Ms. Raheem was mentioning American Express, and I used to work in like for a hotel reservation system, and we would abbreviate American Express as AMEX. So when I first came into this information through RV Day publications, it made so much sense to me, that one of the names for this land is a Mexium. So it's just kind of like a little clue.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, and I'm glad you added on to that, because it was definitely not for no reason, but you knowing that it all correlates, it all correlates.
Yep.
And even with the brethren, like, South, what they call South Africa, all of that, that's still really like southeast of Mexico. The thing that would be tough with that is chasing U.S. citizenship. I don't know what to say on that. You know what I mean? He would have to make a serious national, international claim. Serious.
Right. And, he's taking a position that he – go ahead, sorry.
I just want to say this as well, because and this is the unfortunate thing about our family that is unconscious, because brother, you're saying he's from the land they identify as Africa, but here's the thing. He is still family. See, these modern Europeans, and this, if he was conscious, he could make this claim. How is it that a modern European who is on record as being from another land is now here dictating who can come in and out of this land, or who can travel in and through and on this portion of the land? How is that possible? If he was conscious, he could make this claim. You see what I'm saying? But he's not, and that's the unfortunate thing.
Yep.
So,
yep. And I try to talk to him, and he.
Mm-hmm.
I try to talk to him, but he just focused on trying to, get their passport so he can go home and come back, and So I'm just like, well, I can't help you.
You can't. You can't. You really can't, because. But you know what? It's what this also shows, because I had an experience. It wasn't with this subject matter, but really what this just demonstrated is how they, unbeknownst to other family members, they use family members to get us into their jurisdiction. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
If you had not been conscious of this information, you would have participated in this, because I'm sure in this entire process, of this so-called permission to stay and come and go, they ask you information which could be classified as private and confidential, right?
Right.
And before you came into this information, you would have just given it up.
Yep, and did, previous to coming into this information, hence being married.
Yes, exactly. And see, what I got this lesson. I got this lesson a couple of weeks ago, because one of my family members was asking me to do something that many years ago, before I got this information, I just would have given the information up. I know, because I did it before. The only reason they're asking me again for the same information is because they didn't write it down. So they don't have it anymore. And so here, now I'm conscious for private and confidential information, and they're saying, well, you ain't going to get this unless you can get your family member to give up their private and confidential information. And what they're saying to this brother is, we're gonna remove you from this land, which by law and universe, you do have a right to be here just like we did, but we're going to remove you unless you don't figure out a way to get that other person to give us their private and confidential information.
Now, it's crazy. It's just
you're guilty. You know, really what what's happening is they're extorting both of you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. They're extorting both of you, and if you hadn't come into this information, just like myself, a couple of weeks ago, I had a similar experience, not same subject, but similar, where my family member was being used to get private and confidential information from me. We would have just given it up. So, I mean, it's good that you call because we can give you some additional information, but it's also a lesson that we all as a family can now, because I know I hear people with the, oh, you're right, I know. Some of our listening audience, I'm sure they're saying, oh, you're right, yeah. Like, for example, when a woman has a baby, they literally, in their paperwork that is in the hospital, which, by the way, you cannot leave with, but in the paperwork, it says that you can't leave with your baby unless you give us private and confidential information about you and the baby's father. Now they're holding you and they holding the newborn baby hostage, trying to get the information of the people. And quite frankly, we always give it up because we never looked at it as a violation of our privacy, a violation of our unalienable and inalienable rights, because they use this trickery, this slick wording that, you know, have the majority of the people thinking, oh, yeah, I'm just going to give it up. Because, you know, it's law.
Yep, and we do it on the daily, unconscious and some conscious alike.
Yes. And it was so funny because I was having a conversation with my family member, and I had to say, when I got it, I had to say, look, me helping you out cannot mean that I give up my constitutionally secured right to privacy. And they went back and told the person that was trying to get my information, and guess what they said? Well, we're going to put your paperwork through anyway. We don't need it.
That's crazy. They just do what they want anyway. Like, but you did the right thing, and that's how I feel. I'm just like, well, I don't want to recontract myself back in or do something when, you know, I put a lot of people, you know, when I sent out my proclamation and notice a status change to the 7 locations, like, you know, I don't want to be signing some document, you know, for you when, you know, like I'm contradicting myself. Like, I can't do that.
Yes, exactly. And like, you know, this is a lesson for all of us. But it's, you know, because it's a lesson because we do this. But it's also a lesson that, you know what, nationality is so the order of the day. Oh, my God. So the order of the day, because they are violating this brother, national right, I mean, you know, Aboriginal, Indigenous, unalienable rights, because he has not declared his nationality.
Basically, right.
Yeah. He hasn't declared his nationality, so that's why. And then, you know, and they got him, and but it's not that he can't get out. That we as a people, we got to study, just like the prophet said. We got to study, because look, we just demonstrated, you and I, sister, that look, if we had not been studying, we would have been giving up our private and confidential information to a complete stranger.
That we think is government and it's not.
Exactly. So this was a great call.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a great build, Islam family, and I'm just going to go ahead and get back out of the queue. And I appreciate your time.
All righty. Peace and love, sister.
Peace and love, son.
All right. Well, I just want to say real quick, we got about 10 seconds left to the live internet feed. What that means is, and I apologize for this, you need to call 347-945-5899 to try and get into any open lines. And if you're unable to get into any open lines, just call back after 12:30, and the broadcast will be archived, and you can listen to the last hour. All right? So once again, this is Moor's Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open. Make sure and check us out tomorrow for Moor's Heritage and History School near Harlem Corporation at Northwest Maxim, 7:30 p.m. We'll be having another broadcast of information that can uplift, designed and geared towards uplifting fallen humanity. So if you have any questions in this remaining hour, remember this is Freestyle Tuesday. You can call in, ask a question, put a comment on the table, and lines are open. Just press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will take the next caller. Caller 443-376. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam, beloved family. I am Hassan Ghazi Obey. How's my family?
Islam.
Wow. Islam. That's all is good. All is good. I'll take the pause as something good. I know when I call in the archives, it's usually questions, but I have no questions this evening. Actually, in hearing the whole broadcast, there was a few things that sparked my brain, so I had some comments. The first thing was when you guys were bringing up the nationality card and saying that we are the nationality card. It drove me instantly because I've been in my studies rigorously within this last year. I know usually when I call, I'm usually calling as the person that doesn't know, or, hey, man, I just want to get a direct answer this way, but I was calling for confirmation usually. But I'm just going to say this briefly because I want people to get in, and I wanted to touch base on the nationality card as well as the brother that called in much further, I guess, south, I guess, of northwest of Maxim that said he was new to the information. I was talking about his family was in to what is called the Baptist church or whatever, but I'll get to that second. The first thing was brief. This is from Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary on the jurisprudence terms of ancient and modern jurisprudence. I'm sorry, I might have misquoted that wrong, but I am going to brief, page 240, where it says that brief exactly, I'm just going to kind of get to the meat and the potatoes of it, a written document, semicolon, a letter, semicolon, a writing in the form of a letter, period, a summary, comma, abstract, comma, or epitome, a condensed statement or epitome of some larger document or a series of papers, facts, or circumstances, or facts and circumstances or propositions. And that really tied in really well when I'm not sure if it was you, Mother Roz, or you, Mother Annie, that was saying that we are, I think it was you actually, Mother Annie, that saying we are the card. And, you know, nationality comes from our mother, so the nationality card will only be a brief, a short document on the totality of who we really are, which really probably couldn't be put in a whole bunch of words because we are that great. But at the same time, it does take care of the epitome, which is the main point as far as who we are, as far as our nationality is concerned. And no, it's not something that you can sign up for. It is definitely something that has been given by our mothers thinking, first of all, using our paternal progenitors as a defibrillating tool, using his sperm in order to defibrillate the ovum if she could do it herself if she was vibrating higher. But since she isn't, the defibrillatory agent of sperm is used, even though the seed of thought is thought. To kind of just brush off to that to go to what y'all were saying about nationality. And I remember last week when I called in, and yes, I totally agree. It is national and divine. And I know me, I come from a divine standpoint usually with this information because that's how I can usually relate. So to kind of get into our religion, so to speak, quote unquote, Islamism, which is cosmology, and paying attention to the clock, so to speak. If we were to get into astrology 101, and I'm only going to say it once because I know they can go into the archives and go back and possibly just, research it. Of course, believe nothing I say, research it yourself. But if we go very briefly, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. I'm going to go in order. This is the body now. Head, neck, lungs, arms, shoulders. Chest and stomach will refer to Cancer. Heart is Leo. Intestines will be Virgo, Libra, kidneys. Scorpio genitalia, that is the excretory system as well as your reproductive. The thighs being Sagittarius, your knees is Capricorn, legs Aquarius, feet Pisces. All of them have a fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water in that flow. That's what it goes as. And for the brother that's down south that's trying to get a grasp of it, or maybe trying to be able to see how he can come from his background, so to speak, even though we truly do know that is stigmata, divide and conquer by way of dogmata, by giving them counterfeit religion like the fiat. To kind of say that briefly, if we go to John, the book of John, and I'm going to kind of briefly go to, I think I want to look at chapter 1 of John. Of course, in the beginning, we can start with it. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. If we really look at the word God, we will learn that is a transitive verb. It's not a noun, even though it has been personified. But it means to invoke, to call out, to pour out libation, and there's other scripture that backs that up. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Speak things that are not as though they were, which kind of is evident to, the whole invoking, calling out energy of Godding, period. So with that being said, if you was to actually continue in John, and I'm going to start because I was doing this with my brother when we was researching. I was kind of telling him, too, if you look at each sign in astrology, and this basically, all of the so-called holy books are Kabbalistically based once you start really getting into sacred geometry, not to really go too far into a senior lesson, so to speak. But if you look at each sign, Aries refers to Peter and Gad when you go in the Bible, brothers and sisters. Taurus, Simon and Asher. Gemini, James and Levi. Cancer, Andrew and Zebulon. Leo, John and Judah. Virgo, Philip and Naphtali. Libra, Nathaniel and Issachar. Scorpio, Thomas and Dan. Sagittarius, James and Joseph. Capricorn, Matthew and Benjamin. Aquarius, Thaddeus and Reuben. Pisces, Judas and Simeon. So if you go to, this is John, chapter 1. I'm going to start at 35 because right at 35 it lets you know the next day John, and so far in my walk, John is moon. And I'm going to let y'all know, family that's out there that's listening. I've said it before. Y'all know I'm a Cancer, so I be feeling this a lot. The next day John was there again with 2 of his disciples. When he saw Jesus, which I see as son, anytime I see Jesus in this part of this book I'm reading, I'm just thinking S-U-N, okay, cosmologically speaking. See Jesus passing by, and he said, look, the Lamb of God. Lamb, that's Aries. So right there, just starting right there, John chapter 1, verse 35, you can start slowly but surely going through the zodiac. It lets you know, Lamb of God, that's Aries. When the 2 disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. So who was these other 2 disciples? And I didn't know who it was until I got back into it and looked, okay, it's going to mention Simon, and then it's going to mention James, and then eventually gets to Andrew, because Andrew is Cancer. So if you kind of read along, it goes, when the 2 disciples heard him, they followed Jesus. Turning around, Jesus saw them following and said, what do you want? They said, Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? Come, he replied, and you will see. So they went and saw where he was staying and spent that day with him. It was about the 10th hour. I could probably get in that a little bit more, but I don't want to because I do want to yield the floor. But when that brother had called in and saying what he was saying about his background, I felt like this was a really awesome way if he could just look at the astrology that way and notice that when it mentions the lamb, it's speaking Aries. Even though it doesn't say the other two disciples' names, it's alluding to Taurus and Gemini because that's what's going to follow. So it's starting you off with saying Jesus, the Son, then it takes you through a cardinal, then a fixed, then a mutable before it gets to the next fix, which is Andrew. And that's going to start you at John 1, verse 40, where it says Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. So in other words, it's letting you know that Simon Peter, who has to deal with as well as the fish, because it's letting you know those are water signs. So it's clues there once you really get into knowing the cardinalities of the signs, when you really start getting into the names, and you can really realize that, you know, all of that was like our brothers and sisters that's going to these so-called quote-unquote, I don't even want to call them that, these 501c3 organizations with the bit of education, because the information is not truly being disseminated. They're not really being led out of the darkness or drawn out of the darkness. So I will say that in my experience with this information and really getting to know who I am through what the prophet brought and listening to the mothers, Anna Eid and Ras Mariah, and listening to Mizraim and Cujo, as well as today I got into something with Set and Ra, and I never actually watched anything with Set and Ra before, but I got into that today too, and always, Brother Taj Tariq Bey. And by listening to y'all, I'm able to be edified, honestly, so that I can be able to take all this and really see it all as one. It really is all one. It's just like for those of y'all out there, I know, Miz, you had mentioned TV, and a brother said that you had mentioned TV before. This is like Inuyasha. I don't know if y'all familiar with that anime cartoon, Inuyasha, but Inuyasha is basically about a brother who's half demon, half human, and he's traveling the world to get these pieces of jewel shards to put together a whole jewel so that he can accomplish being a full human. But the thing is, you see him battling this duality within self. He's battling his higher self and his lower self, but the whole time all he's trying to do is put this one jewel together that has been broken up and spread all across the world, which is, there's other stories just like that if you want to talk about, I guess, when it comes to Asar and Aset. Like, that's a kind of a, you know what I mean, breaking up that jewel. But I won't go there either. I think we can kind of see where I was going with that. But I was going to yield the floor now. But this whole broadcast tonight has got me super pumped. And it really all ties in from nationality to it being a brief to us really getting into the Kabbalistic studies of sacred geometry. If you're going to really get that deep into it, that might not be your calling. You know what I'm saying? That might not be what you really into. But since that's my thing, and I'm always in my studies, and I really am sitting here right now in my library. I do that all the time when I listen to you guys, so I make sure I have, when y'all mention things, I can just kind of Spider-Man or Octopus to whatever, you know, whatever literature that I need. But I will say, and this is the last thing to kind of get that brother that's down in the South, as far as dealing with that Baptist situation, brother, it's so funny that you even said that, and I am speaking directly to you and anybody else that's in the family that really needed this. When I kind of dug into the sacred geometry and started getting into the breakdown of the numbers of Greek and Hebrew, dude, like, this stuff is so easy. Like, you can really just sit down with it and just get a couple of sheets of paper or whatever and really just try to use your common sense and your context clues. Like the prophet said, if I can just get you to thinking, yeah, it really works. And I guess I'm just feeling so pumped and saying things in a so pumped fashion kind of right now because I think I kind of had that light bulb go off, and I was able to take all the little pieces, the jewel shards, and I was able to actually correlate them and take the second hermetic principle of correspondence. You understand what I'm saying? And see the as above, so below. With this thing, and I hope I'm not going too far off the topic, but I guess I'll yield right there. But yeah, get into your Greek. Get into that Hebrew, because little stuff like if you wanted to see what the Holy Spirit was, which is Toagion Pneuma in the Greek, Toagion Pneuma, which if you notice, when you break that down Kabbalistically, it'll equal up all the numbers. If you really get down to breaking it down, it'll equal up to 1080. And it's funny because when it comes to television, that's one way where they try to control our Toagion Pneuma. They try to control our spirit with their 1080p. But we won't go there. I just wanted to kind of put that out there so that we could kind of see what is being used against us, but it's not being used against us if we learn how to really work with the energies as above so that we can be able to profit so below.
Wow, bro. For sure, man. That's what's up. You just went in tonight, bro. That's what it is. But on the 1080, though, notice that they still dealing with the 9, you know? But, yep, it's all back to that math. So, yeah, man, keep it going, bro. Keep it going, man. Keep studying, sharing, etc. Man. You already know.
Thank you, family. I yield the floor.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Yes, come a long way, baby. Haven't we? All of us have. That was really great. Did tie a lot of things together, but it required study for the rest of the people to get to that. Wonderful. And I will say that a writ is nothing but, he's right, but a brief that expresses your position regarding a matter, whatever that matter may be. That's all. And the national identification card, tying it back, is a brief and a claim. About that.
Yep.
And then you're like, well, do we have a right to do that? Yeah.
Right. That's your status claim in your pocket. You know what I mean? You don't have to walk around. No, seriously though, that basically just condensed.
Yeah.
So you don't have to walk around everywhere you go. You know what I mean? With legal papers, trying to go through all of that on the spot. Like, you know what I mean? Your status claim.
But didn't the prophet say that your nationality card is going to change in your pocket if you understand what it is?
Absolutely. You know, absolutely. And it's good. It's definitely, the claim is, nobody can debunk that claim. You know what I mean? You could call it what you want, but you can't prove that claim wrong. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is.
That's
so,
right.
You know, that's everything in brief. You know what I mean? That's brief, but it's all there, right there. So.
Yes. Well, we got now to just a little under 45 minutes left, and I don't have any more callers in the queue that would like to ask a question or put something on the table unless somebody is going to press 1 on their telephone dial. We can discuss some other issues about that. Wait a minute. We got somebody else with their hand up. Caller 347-860. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Robert Royal Dunn-L, Northwestern Maxim. Peace and love, family. How are you?
Islam.
Islam. You know, something profound came upon me one day, and it struck something else. One of the elders who grew up in the Temple family, even after the, COINTELPRO and stuff, but when she was, she brought a thought to me that when we look at the inside cover to the Circle 7, the genealogy of quote-unquote Jesus, and it reads the life and works of Jesus in India, Europe, and Africa, in the land of Egypt. And, the significance of that was so profound that she brought up was that, that's telling you that all those places were in Egypt. And if we look at chapter 47, we know this is all part of that Egypt that it was in. And that struck another light in my head when I thought about the prophet when he said we need to get back into the fold of the family, the human family, and he went to Cuba. He didn't go to NATO and those international bodies that were claiming to be something which were not. He went to Cuba, and I wonder if we realize that, will that perspective just help us to see something more great about the activity and the reliance? Because I know you went in earlier on nationality and nation and government, and the definition that Brother Mizraim read was dealt with family. And, so the significance and the tie, again, conceptually, to me, it was like a spark that said, wow. He was talking about gathering the family so that we can start acting on our own, not asking nobody anything. Wow. He went there telling. And I just thought that was...
And Obama, where did Obama go? Just interject. He went to Cairo, Egypt. When he got in, he went to Cairo, Egypt. He was giving a message. Just because he's the CEO of the United States of America, he did not go to fake establish in 1947 Israel like these Europeans usually do, and that's why they was pissed mad at him. And his wife went to the Alhambra, so they were giving you a message then, too. Now, I'm not comparing their message with Prophet Nomadra Ali's, but I'm just saying. Family for the nation.
Yes, I just wanted to lay that on the table to see if any of us, if we were looking at it and seeing that, just that portion, that realization, I don't know if it would create a greater energy, because it seems like a profound thing to me that I never looked at it until this sister made me realize how profound, because we know chapter 1 is everything, and then all the other chapters break it down, but I never thought that the cover was so profound. The inner cover and the real meaning of that, where India, Europe, and Africa in the land of Egypt, and connecting that again, like I said, to chapter 47. The land of Egypt appears to be here, where our feet were.
Yeah. You know what, brother? And you're right about tying in chapter 47. I mean, that's really hot, because if we really tied into chapter 47, we would understand where, because it says that, it outlines, the heritage and the estate. And so that is inclusive of where we're standing. And that's why it's so sinful and horrible when we act as if this land is not our estate and that it belongs to foreigners. And then we say, all right, well, we're going to come into a foreign jurisdiction on our own land. That's why chapter 47 is really, when people who do that, they don't understand what you're saying about chapter 47 at all. They don't recognize what it's actually saying is the estate. But that's what it says.
And for him to even be in those many places, he was on the adept degree, because, like it was said by Noble Ali, take this to the hedges and the highways, correct? So he was traveling with it. You know what I mean? He wasn't stuck or confined to one particular place. He was going out. So I just wanted to point that out as well. That's unique in it too, that he was in a multitude of places.
Yes, and again, the major thing that I'm seeing again is that by going to Cuba in 1928, that was like the icing on the cake in terms of the wisdom of family, calling together family, getting together with family, letting family know it's time. Not going outside of, you know what I'm saying, yourself, not going to those incorporated institutions per se, not going to NATO, not going to quote-unquote UN activity type thing.
But you know what? That's what's up. You know what I mean? Because Cuba is still a North American island. It's Atlantis Island. You know what I mean? Or Mexam Island.
Yes.
But all due respect to that, whether he did or he didn't, he came directly amongst Moors or Asiatics of North America of Moorish descent directly. You know what I mean? What did he bring to them? Trying to unite the family. A lot, you know what I mean? And it didn't stop there, like you said. He went to Cuba, etc. So it's like, you know, he even, you know, so the main thing is what he brought to Moors collectively everywhere, like you're bringing out. But did Moors on the home base, not that that's not home, on the continental landmass, as far as us understanding that, you know what I mean? Because they have principles of nationality, not that we don't, we're the same people. But his works is not really, you know, contingent on that experience alone. You know what I mean? He started right here where we are at, in so-called Newark. And you know how that situation went. Then he went to Egypt of, you know, the West, which they call Illinois, all of those places, all that portion of North America, shall I say, or northwest of Mexico, that is the Egypt. Like, so just like Yeshua, you know, Noble Drali took his works on the hedges and highways through northwest of Mexico as well. You know what I mean? And in other places. So all of that work adds up. And then going to Cuba, like you said, that's the wisdom in it too. But the wisdom that he came directly amongst Moors with on the mainland, because we needed him the most, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That can't ever be, you know, circumscribed. That was work, you know what I mean? So, yeah. All of that means something. I just wanted to add that on as well.
Yes, I give thanks, and you know, I wonder. I don't get a chance to like get into some of those books that you get a hold of, and I love books so much. But is there? I have never heard you mention anything from the Bustamante Code, and I'm wondering how significant is that to the whole international law publications or literature?
I haven't heard of that. What's it called?
The Bustamante Code.
Okay, so that's codes. What statute talking about? English law?
International. That was actually supposed to have been, from my recollection, it's supposed to have been actually one of the international law writers from Cuba that where you know, that's where the reference had come to me from. And, I mean, I had the gentleman's first name, but it fails my attention right now. And I just never been able to get a hold of the book itself to see, you know, what type of dates were on them. And, you know, because I hear you reading from a lot of classical international literature. And, you know, even when I heard you make reference to folk like Aristotle and so forth and their maxims that they presented, and I know based on, you know, the studies that I've had was like they couldn't even make it in the prime class of you know, the students. So,
Yeah,
you know,
but hold on. Before you go on, I just want to say, know that Aristotle was taught directly by Moors. Know that.
Yes.
Know that. All right.
Yes. But my point was that they couldn't make it to the higher levels of the wisdom that the Moors were sharing, and and yet still they bring out gems. So when the prophet says we got so much more to offer, that's just to show you that there's a lot that we haven't caught up with. But I was just sharing that to say that like Stolen Legacy, the brother, Professor George James, he points out that whole thing and illustrates certain things along with a lot of other historians and authors of anthropologies and whatnot in terms of that whole significance of the borrowed knowledge that folk have these platitudes and they couldn't even be as high as a 33rd degree Mason with it. Mm-hmm. And we know it's like the Master Mason is going 360 twice or 3 times even.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to let folks know and put it on the air that today, there's so much knowledge that is out there, for us to embrace once again and engage in, and each discourse just sparks things to memory, and it sends me to realizing how certain books that I've read in the past before I came into the knowledge, when I look at them again at this point, just from memory, I realize that it's a whole new, more than a tweak that goes with them. And that's the way light works. It gets brighter and brighter when you know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing, and I tell you, I just love like I know a few calls back when someone was referring to that chapter 5, I believe it was at the Circle 7, dealing with the workshop of the mind, and when we realized that that faith, hope, and love, that only gets you to the point to begin the 12-step ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a whole lot of something. In other words, to get you in a set frame to even get into something, of the highest form of wisdom. So we got a lot. We have a lot, and just folk getting all confused about continuing to follow and walk and look for things to attach to that institutional, corporate, quasi-natural game that's been played on them to try to replace birthright and nationality. And it seems like they get stuck, and even some of our greatest seem to not be studying hard enough because they get stuck. And it's one thing to think it's a thing to believe and have faith, but you're gonna come to me putting weight on a driver's license and talking about an attorney or talking about voting in a quasi-national thing, a corporation, and I know we all have to go through our stages, but that's a whole different program, and it gets to the point where what folk really are confused about is they don't know that the judgment that's in play, doesn't take away from the knowledge that the Prophet brought and the activity that we must carry out for our divine and national salvation. We're still in effect, and we need to be active on that and not even worry about the judgment that's taking place, because that judgment is done, but they got to tear each other up. We have to shine with love to try to make sure that everything is not destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to put that on the table, because we have so many of our folk just so confused till they running after something, and that's the same stuff that they should know by now. I mean, how many different ways could the UCC come into play before you without you recognizing it? And that's what's happening with people on a broad scale, with our folk on a broad scale. They don't know they're home. They forgot how to act when you're home. You know what I'm saying? They forgot how to be a true possessor of things. And I don't mean, possession in that me, myself, you know what I'm saying? In that selfish self. I'm talking about a possessor of knowing that you don't need permission for this, that, and the other. You can live, and you can share your love without permission, and you can be without permission, and you can travel without permission. And that's the realization and a real portion of the wisdom that we really need to come back to. And, I just lay that on the table. And I say peace.
Indeed. I say peace back, bro. Appreciate that for sure. Because you gotta, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's freedom. It goes all together. You gotta be able to share or if you're willing to, do whatever it is with your energy that you want to do, as long as you're not harming anybody else without permission. Just those basic fundamental rights. And that's what it is. It goes right back to the self-authority thing. So, yeah, pretty much what you said is on point. But again, if you don't mind, can you quote that book you were mentioning one more time? Because I haven't heard of that before.
Bustamante. That's the last name of the gentleman, and the only way I've heard it as the Bustamante Code is supposed to be an international law book, and I can't, as I say, bring to mind the first name of this Bustamante character, but I do know that he was, from the portion of Cuba, so.
Oh, all right. Cool. So, is this ancient or just this like a modern type of international?
Well, that's what I was really trying to determine, because I never really got my hands on a copy to see any of the dates dealing with it, but I'm kind of thinking that it has to touch on something even classical, even if it was published later. So I'm not certain though. So, and I don't get a chance to, certain things I haven't been able to get my hands on, and I just know that should have some significance. It should tie right into every and anything in terms of the scale of balancing and weighing what the international community is basing things on.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I'll try to see what's going on with that, if I could get up with that I mean, was there anything significant in that book that you wanted to share?
No, I never got a hold of it. I just know that it should have dealt with a lot of international law, and as I say, I hear you reading from classical international literature, and I just was wondering in those studies whether or not you had ever come across it.
Yeah, no, but I'll say this: I haven't come across that, but what I have come across, I definitely look forward to continue to share with the family. But more than that, I trust and I hope when, y'all hear me speak of these references, you go and research them out. You know what I mean? Because that's the point. You know what I mean? Like, it's more, at this point, it's beyond more than enough information to protect ourselves in international affairs. But we're going to continue. I mean, information, truth is infinite. And this is why we're still going in, even to this day, and we'll continue to go in on different things, you know what I mean? Because the information is vast. So that being said, if I could come across that and see anything significant in it, I'll let you know how to, possibly get your hands on that. So,
and did you ever come across any information on that queen you were looking for?
No, somebody did, but I came across a lot more information. And with that said, I just want to remind everybody, check out the Prisoners in Your Own Land page, RV Bay Publications update, and Are You in Denial of Your Ancestry Part 3 is going to be serious. A lot of revelations, and it has to go, in the book format, because it's a lot, so much. But in the meantime, just keep staying in tune with RV Bay Publications, I'm finding the best way to share this information and put it out. We all are doing that. So, again, but no, I know I will, though. It might not be time yet. You know what I mean? I'll just say this right now. I'm not the type to try to put, I'm not the type to try to, go into necromancy. But my intent, my mission right now is to make sure that, our information is out there for us, competent beings now to pass on to the youth, and for the youth now. That's what it is. So I will be putting it in that form so that lessons can be preserved, with things I can't just say, I have to show, you know what I mean? But outside of that, definitely keep staying in tune with RV Bay Publications, Moor's Heritage and History School, MHHS-Eyes Wide Open, Principles of Nationality in Action, as you know, every Tuesday, Sons of Allah every third Thursday, and MHHS Sister Standing on Law every third Sunday. Granted, sometimes, dates may be subject to change, but always you'll know what's happening in MHHS Eyes Wide Open Facebook and RVBayPublications.com. We're not stopping yet, you know what I mean? And that's just what it is. I feel like you said, when you get to that point of, the beginning of being able to ascend that 12-step ladder. Though we've been doing this for 3 years and dropping information consistently, you know what I mean? Consistently on all different subjects. I personally, right now, I feel like we're just getting started. I could say me, it's no discredit to any of the work that has already been done, but it's still just so much more to look at and do. You know what I mean? And it's a lot already out there. So when I have certain questions, like I was saying last, Sons of Allah, the universe somehow, some way reveals it to me or puts it in my path so that I can have the revelation. And usually I share my revelations with the family. There's been certain questions I had, and the answer didn't come till years later. I think that the impact of when that answer comes around fully to why it even matters about that queen, it's going to be the perfect time and the right time. Maybe somebody else will before I do. But when I have that revelation, I'll definitely share it with the family, and it's going to be on time whenever it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? But it might be in my travels somewhere. I don't know. So, but for now, the information I shared about that battle at the courthouse with that particular so-called queen of Appomattox, Virginia, like, all I know is at this point, things popped off at a quote-unquote courthouse relative to that situation. And it might be, I know it's more history that goes with that, but, you know, when it's time for me to know, I'll know, you know.
Yes. Yes, again, we can't thank you enough.
For sure. But, yeah.
All
again,
right.
no. Oh, yeah, my fault. No, not to cut your wisdom, but again, definitely check out that Prisoners in Your Own Land page. That's what's jumping right now because, I mean, not just right now, but for sure, I know queen, the word queen could be disputed, but I feel like, you know, every sister has that potential in her own right. And there's a particular sister that if it was left to me, you know, I would say myself, she's a queen. You know, in history, I'm talking about a sister with the appellation Elizabeth Freeman. You know what I'm saying? Like what she did in history, you know what I mean? I feel like not just because of that, but those potent powers to manifest what it is you will, I would specifically say she has that royalty. I don't want to limit to the word queen, but for lack of a better word, for those who may not understand or understand, queen, sheik, you know, these sheik would it be for Aboriginal people, which they later called chief. But to lead like that in those times is saying something about the power of our people collectively, you know what I mean? Whether a European called them that or not. So I just want to say that too. Islam.
All right. All righty. We have, it is 12:18. We got about 10 minutes left. Yeah. So if there are no more questions, because our last caller was a question on this Freestyle Tuesday. If there are no more questions, we can bid everyone a good night.
For sure.
Yes. Make sure and check us out tomorrow for Moor's Heritage and History School near Harlem Corporation at Northwest of Maxim. 7 p.m., 7:30 sharp, 7:30 p.m. tomorrow sharp. And we shall see you back here next Tuesday for another broadcast of Moor's Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open. Peace and love to everyone. And good night.
Wow. Good night. Peace and love, family.
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the bibliotext that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most elite. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us pharaohs. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them gods don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved the Slavs, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they niggered us right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too smart, love a tour, Marcus Garvey, your ass. No, but you are leading, God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin, that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you can edit sin. We've been enlightened long before Thomas Edison. Skeletons to prove that you wasn't even relevant. In the Caucasus Mountains, cause the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman with the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but in time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied in law, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law and master, so I'm running that. This Molotov cocktail burns faster, so I like the match. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I spit the truth, so here's the roof, so you can yeah that. My skin is brown and here's the proof, but you ain't hearing that. Dead in the eyes of the law, that's why they call you black. Naming all caps when you fall, that's why I strike back. And strike that from the record ab initio. You gon' need more than some pressure, I got a vicious flow. I could take the road to the high, or I can hit them low. Try to calcify my third eye, oh you gon' have to go. Chemtrails all over the sky, and you don't wanna know. Don't go inside of my tribe, they coming no more.
If you believe that your history started on a slave boat, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I'm saying. Then after saying that, and so don't believe me, go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, sure as you're sitting there listening or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word Moor. And that's another thing. Because we weren't called black. That the description, maybe, black or Moor or whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual, person, place, or thing, noun. I mean, really.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us pharaoh. From the pyramids to the project, the beginning is the part they want you to forget. Implant your memory with that noose around your neck. It's the King Alpha plan and it's set in full effect. The butler, the help, and 12 years a slave. Django and Selma, they get them accolades. They made a movie called Exodus about the gods and kings with an all-white cast from Egypt. Now that's the same. They ain't never seen no movie about no European slaves. We were traveling the seas when they was living in caves. We had to civilize them, show them how to behave. In fact, we brought them light and taught them how to bathe. This is trading places with stolen identity. We agreed to be educated by our own enemy. Reverse psychology, I'ma need a lobotomy. An exorcism just to get this shit about me. Roz Mariah, Anna Eve, Miss Raheem, Tariq, Cujo from Cannonland. Listen to them speak. I done learned from the best. I don't need no DNA test. The nations in my womb has given from the breast. The empire's back, so you know what's next. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess. Yes, yes. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess.
Birthright theft. The whole deal was, where's my land that, for them? The whole deal was like, this is really quote-unquote promised land. This is really the quote-unquote heart of civilization. This is really what you might call Northwest Africa. That's what, and I say that to people so they can stop saying I'm going back to Africa and understand that they're in it. It's the Garden of Eden.
That's what they had in Columbus's journal that they arrived
Absolutely.
in Eden.
So what has happened is absolute lies. That's right. And the land of milk and honey is another terminology. So these things are important because as you're doing studies, and if it says the land of milk and honey, you need to know they're talking about the North American continent. If you don't know that, then you miss it. And that's part of our problem. That part of our problem is the miseducation. We have been lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to. things are important because as you're doing studies, and if it says the land of milk and honey, you need to know they're talking about the North American continent. If you don't know that, then you miss it. And that's part of our problem. That part of our problem is the miseducation. We have been lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to.